you and welcome. This is Take Two with Jerry and Debbie and you. I am Debbie. I'm Jerry Usher along with Debbie Georgiani. These things usually happen on Friday, Debbie, not on Monday. Sorry, folks.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Yeah.
I want to be Jerry and he wants to be Debbie. Okay,
Yeah.
that works.
Yeah, right.
I do want to be like you when I grew up, but I don't want to grow up. So there you go.
Oh, well, you'll never be like me then.
Jerry, it's Monday.
Yeah, I've already proven that.
An amazing celebration, Juneteenth. I love it.
Yeah.
It's an amazing celebration, federal holiday, and really time for us to reflect and to really, celebrate everybody that fought, against slavery. And it's just, we've come a long way in our U.S. history, and Juneteenth is a way for us to remember freedom.
Yeah, well, and today we've got an interesting show. We're going to be asking you about a what if. Do you have a what if in your life? And what we mean by that is, what if you had, dated and married somebody different? Or what if you had taken this particular job or not taken that particular job or made just even smaller decisions? Do you look back? Are you able to look back on your life and say, what if? And then how things might have been different for you in your life. Start calling now with your takes at 833-288-EWTN, 833-288-3986.
Now, I will tell you, though, Jerry, in life coaching, as you know, when we try to avoid the what-ifs, because what-ifs can cause a lot of anxiety, that's when you're looking ahead and you say, what if this happens or what if that happens? And it causes anxiety, and we don't want that because that kind of derails you from your life purpose and plan. But what you're referring to is, what if you did take that, plane trip to a different place, and would that have made you move to that place? And what if you, dated your high school sweetheart, and, you ended up marrying him instead of, going off to college and marrying somebody after college. So you're talking about the what ifs, kind of like if things were different, if you had made different choices, or thinking about, well, what if that life path, was able to be fulfilled? How would that look now, right? Mm-hmm. Is that what you're saying? Okay. So here's something. Less, okay. Mm-hmm. So here's something. So what if I did what if I did accomplish becoming a professional golfer? I can probably tell you, this is just my personal opinion, I probably wouldn't have had kids, which wouldn't have been good. And I probably wouldn't have been as deep in my faith, because being on tour, it's very hard to have a family. And a lot of times the families go with the players, and it's just tough. And who knows, I might not have had children or been in ministry. So I'm glad I chose the what if, this side of instead of doing the professional side.
Well, what about you, Take Two family? Do you look back and you say, well, what if I had made a different decision in this particular instance? How would my life be different? 833-288-3986. And I think, Debbie, behind just about every what if is really another what if, and I'll give an example of that. Sure. What if I had not taken a job? This was in the mid 80s. What if I had not taken a job at a software developing company, and then they traveled to Las Vegas to go to what was called Comdex. I think it's an annual convention. And I went there. I was in the shipping department, so they had me, ship the stuff down there and unpack it and pack it up to come back. And what if I hadn't gone on that trip? And what if I hadn't subsequently, while I was in Las Vegas, gone to confession to this dear, dear priest friend of mine? We remained friends until he passed away at the age of 96, Father Francis White. And we became good friends. I went to Las Vegas many times to visit him after that. He introduced me to somebody who was going to Franciscan University of Steubenville. And he told me, Jerry, you got to go there. So I ended up going there as a seminarian. See, so there's this chain of what ifs, So folks, look back in your life. You can do this. I mean, this is... Every one of us has these stories that we can tell about, how God blessed us because we made this or that decision, or maybe we wish we had made a different one. So
Interesting. Okay, so we're talking about the what ifs today. We want to hear your life story because we can learn and grow. We can maybe try to peel away the layers and see where the God element is in your journey. For me, anyway, I mean, you take a choice between professional, the LPGA tour, or ministry. I would choose ministry. Time over and over again. I mean, it's been yeah, absolutely. Although you do pray to God a lot on the golf course, I will tell you that. But the what ifs today, that's what we're talking about on Take Two. Please join us. We need to fill up the phone lines. I know it is a federal holiday today, Juneteenth, but you know what? We still expect your participation because this is your show and we're going to learn and grow together. So this is the time to call in 833-288-3986. Please dial in quickly. So we want to fill up all the phone lines and have just a really, really well-rounded discussion on the what ifs of life. If you chose this path over this path, what would have happened? My mother always says she should have married this guy named Pat that she knew. She just loved him. And when all six of us kids say, but Mom, if you married Pat, you wouldn't have had us. And she goes, oh yeah, that's right. God love my mother. God rest her soul.
She might have had all of you kids. She still might have had kids,
yeah, but
right?
it would have been different because you would have had Pat's DNA instead of my dad's. But
I see.
yeah. That's what I'm saying. But she always kept thinking, what would it have been like if I had married Pat instead of my dad?
Right.
Although she had no regrets. My mother was amazing. Any situation she was in, she accepted pretty much.
Well, and that's a good point, too. You know, we have to, even though we look back and we say, wow, what if I had done this or that or made this or that decision? How different would things be? We have to, at the same time, Debbie, you make a great point. We have to say, this was God's will for me. This is where I am right now. So, folks, this is not a show about regrets, looking back and saying, gee, I blew it or anything like that. It's just really taking a little bit of a reflection back in time in your life. Maybe you chose to go to this college over that college or major in this or that or something. How would things have been different for you? 833-288-EWTN, 833-288-3986. We have a couple of open phone lines still if you would like to be in the first group to get on the program today.
The what ifs of life. If you had chosen a certain path over the one that you are living right now, how would that look? Tell us about it. Let's kind of do an inventory together of life, and we can learn and grow together. That's what Take Two is all about. But you got to call us, 833-288-3986.
From Rome, this is Edward Pentin, correspondent for the National Catholic Register.
This is Montse Alvarado from EWTN News In Depth.
Get trusted Catholic news every day on EWTN radio and television.
He is honored by the Church as a saint and the first diocesan priest to be declared a doctor of the Church.
Matthew Bunsen and the Doctors of the Church.
St. John of Avila was known to his contemporaries as a spiritual master, and he served as a guide to some of the greatest saints of the 1500s. He also called for true reform in the Church and was a role model for the priesthood even today. He died in 1569.
For more about the Doctors of the Church, visit doctorsofthechurch.com.
Here is today's quote from Mother Angelica's perpetual calendar. You need a teaching authority that says this is right and this is wrong. You've got to go by some thermometer, some rule of thumb in morals and faith. That's the Church. In your daily life, you have the will of God as it presents itself in the present moment. Mother Angelica's perpetual calendar is available at EWTNRC.com. That's EWTNRC.com.
The EWTN Warriors Rosary is a fitting tribute to all the spiritual warriors who have stood by us over the years. Each rosary is a unique creation. Get your Warriors Rosary today at EWTNRC.com.
This is your show, Take Two with Jerry and Debbie and you on EWTN Radio. Thanks to Ace McKay, our producer, Jeff Burson on social media, Matt Gabensky screening your calls at 833 288-3986. As today we are asking you to do a little bit of pondering, reflecting, maybe looking back, and if there is a what-if moment in your life, what if I had done this or made that choice or done this action or said something different than what I said, how would my life be different? 833-288-3986, and we'll get to Annette in a moment. I just want to mention first, EWTN Pro-Life Weekly email. Prudence Robertson keeps you informed and educated with the latest news and truth on abortion, euthanasia, assisted suicide, and the culture of death on EWTN Pro-Life Weekly. And we can send EWTN's Pro-Life Weekly directly to your email inbox each week. Just visit EWTN.com and click on subscribe.
Okay, so I want to give a little bit of the backstory because my mother is, she's left this earth. She's went on for her eternal rewards, and I feel like I kind of sort of threw her under the bus a little bit. It was a joke that my parents had. Okay, my parents were married 58 years. My dad was dating a gal named Pat before my mother. My mom was dating a guy named Pat before my dad. So they would always joke around saying maybe we should have married the Pats instead of us. It was a joke. It was a joke, folks. So I don't want anybody to think that my parents were married 58 years. They were like oil and water, two 100% Sicilians in the same house. That could be a bit explosive. But they were committed to each other for their lifetime, and they obviously raised 6 kids. So
beautiful.
I'm glad they didn't marry the Pats.
Very
it was
good.
A joke. Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
We've got a couple of open phone lines talking today about what if. Do you have a what if moment in your life looking back? 833-288-3986. We will start with Annette in Wisconsin, listening to us on Sirius XM 130. Hello, Annette. Thanks for joining us.
Hello. Good morning.
Good morning. What would you like to share?
Well, my what if is, it's something that I think about a lot, is 17 years ago, my first husband, who I was married to for 19 years, committed suicide. Mm-hmm. And my what if is maybe one of my actions, maybe more support, maybe more talk, maybe more, relying on our faith. We had a strong Catholic faith together. Maybe that could have been prevented, and I often then think, well, maybe it didn't. Maybe that was what was supposed to happen in his life. Was that God's will? I question that all the time. However, because he died, I remained widowed for 10 years, but after 10 years, I met a wonderful man and am married to him, and we have a wonderful marriage and a strong Catholic faith, and we try to evangelize, and it has been this most amazing blessing in my life. The confusing part is, was that how my life was supposed to be? Or maybe there was a what if that I should have done, and I maybe could have been married to my first husband still.
Mm-hmm. Annette, it's we're so sorry for your husband taking his own life, and that had to be very traumatic for you and anyone else around your husband, any family members or friends. It's very hard when you lose somebody to suicide. Annette, these are the what ifs that I was talking about at the beginning of the show with life coaching. We very much stay away from what ifs because, let me ask you this question. Is there anything you can do about it? Well, I'll answer for you. No, there's nothing you can do about it, right? Your husband made that decision with the interesting thing about what you said, though, is, if there was something else that could have been done, and the fact that you shared, the faith together is something that, could have been said. God allows and steps back because he does not come into our free will. He respects that in a very, very strong supernatural way, something that we can't understand as human beings. Of course, if your husband was on the verge of suicide, what would we do as human beings? We would do anything we could to get him not to do it, right? But God, in his beautiful nature of giving us this incredible gift of free will, which allows us to freely love him with all of our heart. Also, we can make some really destructive choices, whether consciously unconsciously, intentionally, unintentionally. It happens. So I just want, I don't know if what I'm sharing with you is bringing you any comfort, but I think we have to kind of look at free will in the best way we can, the way God sees it, because it's very much a gift that he does not infringe upon, and that's exactly, I believe, what happened to your husband, unless there was some kind of brain health issues or something else going on. But do you see what I'm saying? And so that's why when you hear of these tragic events that happen, and you say, how could God have let this happen? Because he loves us so much, he's given us free will. What do you think?
Right. I do understand that, and one of the ways I got through this was relying on my faith and knowing that Jesus was still with me, and that if I was responsible for his life, he would still be here. But sometimes it's just hard to enjoy the most amazing life I have now that wouldn't have happened if my first husband wouldn't have died.
Right. What do you think, Jerry?
Absolutely, Annette. And, I echo Debbie's deep sympathies. We will add your first husband to our prayer book, of course, before we end our time with you here on the air. And if you'd like to give us his first name, that's fine. If not, God knows who he is. But I'm sure you know this, and I share this for the benefit of anyone who might be listening right now who may have lost someone in a similar manner. And that is, you can do so much good for your first husband and others who are listening right now. You can do so much good for them, spiritually speaking. God is outside of time and space. And for God, there is just this eternal present moment, this eternal now. That's and right. your prayers are so efficacious and powerful. I lost an uncle to suicide when I was just a very young boy. And actually, I was thinking about him and praying for him last night while I was in bed. So, God can take those prayers and really do remarkable things with them, Annette. And I am so happy that you have this new relationship with your new husband. And you said it's godly and based on your faith and all of that. So thanks be to God. I'm glad you were able to enter into that relationship, that marriage, and that it's very happy.
And something about the happiness of your marriage. Just because you're happy in your marriage, Annette, it doesn't mean that you are not saddened and hurt by your first husband taking his own life. That you can have both. I think sometimes it's kind of like almost a survivor's guilt type feeling. You can still be extremely joy-filled and happy and laughter and everything. It doesn't mean you're forgetting about your first husband. Right.
I understand that, and I do pray for him, and I will continue, and I appreciate you adding him to your book of prayers, too. I appreciate that.
Absolutely.
For sure. Well, those are prayers from around the world and at the entire Take Two family, so there will be a lot more in addition to your very powerful and efficacious prayers, I'm sure. So thank you, Annette. Okay, 833-288-3986. We're just putting it out there to you today. Do you look back at anything in your life, any path you've taken, any journey you've been on, any decision you made, and you think, what if I had not done that, or what if I had done something else? 833-288-3986.
Okay, we're going to go to first-time caller Lori in Idaho. Sirius XM 130 is away. Lori's listening. Hello, Lori, and welcome.
Thank you. Well, I've got a what if that in Thanksgiving, because 10 years ago this July, my son was in a bar, and a couple of guys beat him up real bad, and he was knocked out. So, and there was a video. He was not provoking or fighting back or anything. He's actually just a nice guy. And because he was knocked out, they had to do a CAT scan and found a tumor in his brain. And he thought it was a cavernoma at first, which is a vein cluster, and the surgeon gave him the option of removing it because he said he could live a long, healthy life and it would never burst, but a slight, slim chance that it could. So right up until the night before surgery, my son made the decision, okay, I'm going to go through with this. And it ended up being ganglioglioma cancer that was a childhood cancer that was very easy for the surgeon to remove, but had he waited, it would have fingered out and caused, much less. Yes, he probably would have died had he waited symptoms. So it was one of those, I said those guys were bad and they were prosecuted, but they saved your life. It's so, yeah.
But Lori, remember something. Especially when the guardian angels are involved, it's almost like chess pieces on a board. Things will get moved around in the right order in order for it to make sense. So yes, it was horrible that your son was beat up, and these people did a really bad thing, and they should be charged with a crime. But the result of that enabled your son to have clarity about something that potentially was life-threatening. So you see how God has a way of lining things up, and sometimes you can't even make this stuff up. It's almost beyond anything you see on TV or any screenplay or any movie. It's amazing, but here's the key: for some reason, the good Lord wanted your son to find out ahead of time. So there's a purpose and a plan for your son going forward. And I hope you guys are exploring that, because usually when something very strange circumstances produce something that is like, wow, this is life. This is life-saving. This just saved our lives. There's a reason, a major reason. So I hope you're exploring that. Jerry?
Well, I would just add that, like you both have indicated, this is something very, very wrong these guys did, and perhaps, I don't know what eventually happened to them, but you mentioned, Lori, that they were I think you said charged for this, but absolutely, I echo what Debbie says. I'm thinking of Romans 8, verse 28, all things work together for good to those who love God. And it's just, this is a total mystery, Lori, about, why God allowed this to happen. But praise be to God. We rejoice with you and your son and all in your family that this has turned out the way it has for you.
Mm-hmm. Have you figured out the reason?
Oh, well, I say all the time that those boys saved his life, and I don't know if they even know. We don't know who they are. So I hope they've turned their lives around and they're living better, possibly. But I am so thankful that it happened the way that it did.
What about your son? Does he realize that there's something much bigger in store for him that God has planned?
Yes. Oh, yes. Yes. He was actually for a while discerning the priesthood. He has not taken that route, and he's looking to possibly get engaged here soon. So
there you go.
Yeah.
There you go. There's a reason he's here, and see, God, our God is so great, Lori. He's so great. And how amazing is that? Something so horrible of what happened to your son, being on the receiving end of a beating like that, but then to have it turn out to be something that has potentially saved his life. Wow. Like I said, this is the best movie script in the world. You can't make this stuff up.
That's right. That's right. We're very thankful.
Amen. Well, we join you in that gratitude and rejoicing to God, Lori. Thank you so much for the call from Idaho today. On Take Two with Jerry and Debbie, starting out a new week of broadcasts here. It is Monday morning where Debbie and I are, Debbie in Phoenix. I'm in Southern California. It may be the lunch bunch for you on the East Coast. You could be listening anywhere in the world. We're so happy to have you tuned in, and we'd love to have you weigh in. We have that line that Lori was on is now open at 833-288 3986 833-288 EWTN as we just invite you to reflect on something that may have happened in your life, something that you decided to do or not do. How was that your what if moment? We'd love to hear from you about that.
And I put Lori's son in the prayer book. So, Lori, if you're still listening, I put your son in our prayer book. Okay, we do have some open phone lines. We really need you to jump in on this conversation. The what ifs of life. What if this happened? What if that happened? How would my life have changed? Do you have another life-saving story? Because of this thing happened, this turned out that I found out something even more important. So, you know what? Pretty exciting how life turns out. And it's pretty intricate, and there's lots lot of details, and we love all the details here on Take Two. 833-288-3986.
Another example, I'm sure you've heard these too, the what ifs, Debbie, but I've loved to hear these stories about couples who, may have had a couple of children and then decided to use birth control or whatever and not have any more. And then all of a sudden their eyes were open to the church's teaching, and they have, say, another child or two or three, and one becomes, a priest or a religious or very, very successful. That's another beautiful example of a what if. What if we had not had, any more children?
Mm-hmm. And there was a Hollywood movie many years ago. I cannot think of the name of it. If anybody can think of it, maybe call in and let Matt Kabinski know. Where they showed that, Jerry. They showed somebody going on with their life, and then they had another portion of the movie where it was where they made different choices and how that turned out. So they showed these two parallel lives. It was really fascinating.
Sounds like
interesting.
it.
Yeah.
Okay, 833-288-3986. Thank you, affiliates, for carrying the program. We are going to get back to more of your calls, starting with Tina in Calgary, Alberta, in just a second here. Stay with us.
Hi, I'm Doug Keck. This is an EWTN bookmark brief. Speaking with Dr. Stephen A. Christie about a wonderful book, Speaking for the Unborn, 30-second pro-life rebuttals to pro-choice arguments, available through our EWTN religious catalog. Okay, Dr. Christie, why are you speaking up for the unborn, and why in 30-second sound bites?
Like many of you out there, I stumbled across many wonderful pro-life arguments, and I thought it was time to pick the best ones that were out there, to edit them, to compile them, and put them in a user-friendly format. And I focused on ones that were not religious. I focused on ones that were based on the law, science, social justice, the visible evidence, and morality and ethics. And I thought there was a need for it, and this is the book that brings those 30-second rebuttals for you.
Dr. Stephen A. Christie, a book, Speaking for the Unborn, 30-second pro-life rebuttals to pro-choice arguments. It's a book that's available through the EWTN religious catalog, EWTNRC.com. Pick it up. I'm Doug Keck. This has been a bookmark brief. Thanks for stopping by.
This is Debbie Georgianni. If you missed part of today's show, catch the encore tonight at midnight Eastern. Check out the podcast anytime at EWTNradio.net and click podcasts.
This is Bernadette Boguski, Executive Director of WCCR Cleveland, AM 1260 The Rock. Why do we need Catholic radio? To reach the hearts, minds, and souls of those who are searching for deeper meaning and don't know where to turn. To bring clarity to a world full of lies and confusion, and to share the good news of joy and mercy with a world so desperate for the truth.
The world needs EWTN Catholic Radio, now more than ever.
Hi, this is Janet Williams. We embrace the essence of feminine spirituality on Women of Grace tomorrow at 11 a.m. Eastern here on EWTN Radio. Now, back to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie.
We are so happy that you're with us here for Take Two with Jerry and Debbie on EWTN Radio. Talking today about what ifs. I think we can all look back on our lives and say, what if this had happened differently, or if I'd made that choice or gone down this other path? We're talking about that today at 833-288-3986. And we will go next to Tina, as promised, in Calgary. Our good friend Tina, listening on Alexa. Hello, Tina. Good day to you.
Hello. How are you guys?
Doing pretty well. How are you?
I'm okay. Happy 7th anniversary too. I missed that too.
Thank you.
Oh my God! When you guys said that, I went, it's been 7 years already.
Yeah, isn't that amazing?
Wow. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm just like, where's the phone? Anyway, I am a little conflicted on this topic because on one hand, I do not live, or at least I try not to live in the what if, because if I was forced to live in that mentality, then that means that I need control, and ultimately I don't have control. soul, God does, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, what's the point in saying what if? Because we don't know, right?
Well, you still have your free will, Tina, and that's very powerful. You can choose, it's all about choices and your decisions. And so I don't know if you're going in that direction, but share a little bit more what you wanted to express today.
My grandfather always said he guided me. And he always said, like, be at peace, so it's like, don't live in the past, live in the future. But here's where I'm conflicted, and I don't know what's going on. Like, it's just weird. I lost my fiance, Harry, 5 years ago. And I think I've talked about him enough. He's on the airwaves now. He would be so upset, but that's okay. But the thing is, through that, I have been able to teach my ex-boyfriend backwards and forwards about the Catholic faith. And now he's saying, like, we've known each other since high school, kind of. Now he's asking me if I would like to marry him, and I'm like, yes, but no. Because I think I'm doing it for the wrong reasons, like, to fill some loneliness that I can't fill. And I know God can, but just haven't done it yet. And I also look at this. I look at it, though, as maybe a new window for me to, like, live with someone and teach someone about the Catholic faith who otherwise may not have had it. Like, my ex-boyfriend, he was adopted, and, like, he doesn't have any faith background. Like, there's nothing. So I don't know what kind of door God's trying to open, or if there is any door.
There is a door. There are always doors to God. And the saying, if God closes the door, He will close certain doors for us. And we are very painfully aware of the laws. A few years ago, he's then.
Hey, Jerry, I'm going to jump in if that's okay. We're going to fix your audio. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Okay, Tina, I just wanted to share a couple things about the beauty of what you're sharing is that you have such an incredible heart. You are so, how do I say this? And I want to pay you this. It's like a highest compliment. You are all love. And that's a beautiful thing. And all I think, Jerry and I, every time you call, this is what I think we pray for, is that the good Lord provides for you the next steps for you to be able to show who you are and show that love and spread the gospel message. And I just pray that, all of the people that come into your life, the people that you encounter, you get that opportunity. You are a very precious soul. I don't know if you realize how precious you are, but I wanted to tell you that today. In fact, I've wanted to tell you that for many months. So this is like the perfect time for me to tell you this. And I hope you can receive it.
I can. And thank you so much. And actually, it was amazing because over the weekend we had a 50th wedding anniversary for my parents. And so my brother came from BC. He's like, this must be very hard for you. And I'm like, yeah, it is. To the grief and whatever else. But he's like, you are so full of, you're here. You love the world. And I'm,
yes, you do. But see, people notice that around you, Tina. People notice that. And so that's the beauty of what you do. When you come into a room, when you come into a conversation, you bring that love with you. And that's Christ. I love that about you. So I'm glad that you were affirmed by your brother in that aspect, and I feel the exact same way. But what I need you to do is to recognize that, accept that, and then keep looking for those next encounters so that you can impart that to others. Because we need a lot more love in this world, a lot more. What do you think, Jerry?
I can't disagree with anything that you said, especially the fact that we need a lot more love in the world. So, Tina, thank you. God bless you for the call today. And we hope that we'll hear from you again soon on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. Talking about what ifs today, we just had a post on take2show.com from Linda. She says, my family is from England, though I was born here in the U.S. I've oftentimes wondered, what if I'd been raised in England and what my life would have been like? At the same time, I realized my life turned out the way it was meant to be. And that's from Linda on take2show.com.
Wow. And then Matt Gabinski just sent over, that's one of the movies I was thinking of, Matt, with Kevin Sorbo, What If, starring Kevin Sorbo, I guess. So that showed different life paths. But there was another movie that it was like one of those big Hollywood movies, and they did that same thing. And then I think they've repeated that same type of story again and again, because it is fascinating to find out if you just made just a slight adjustment in a move you made or a choice you made, Jerry, it could change the ripple effect of that changes the rest of your life.
You could decide to go to a church function or some other activity, and you thought, well, I'm not going to go. Well, okay, I will, I guess. And then you meet someone you end up marrying or something. That's that's a huge what if. What if I had not gone? I wouldn't have met my husband or my wife. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, that happened to me when my neighbor wanted to introduce me to Marty. I had zero interest in dating, zero. And so if I had said no, look what I wouldn't have been married to Marty.
Yeah, true.
There you go. Where are we going next?
Okay, let's go to Roxanne in South Carolina. She is listening on Sirius XM 130. Hello, Roxanne.
Hi, can you hear me?
Very well,
yes.
Yeah. Okay. I was just telling the screener that I don't have any regrets. And what I mean by that is that what happened, I can't change. It already happened. Just like my ex-husband had an affair, and he divorced me, and I remarried. But I asked God for a specific guy, and Christian, Catholic, and that he dropped him literally down in front of me. And so, sort of those things all sort of happened because I've been married 17 years, and Catholic, he's Catholic, I'm Catholic. We both do religious education, and if I did the what if, then I wouldn't have had my two beautiful children by my ex-husband. So, I made up this little quote of, that life is short, and so it's there's no reason to have regret. Does that make sense?
I completely agree with you. And because I've had people say to me all the time, similar thing happened to me, Roxanne, with my former husband. And people said to me all the time, don't you wish you didn't, walk into that restaurant that day and get that job at that restaurant that he was at? And I'm like, no, because I would not have had these two beautiful children, and my life I wouldn't have matured in a way. I wouldn't have gotten into ministry. I mean, everything kind of worked out, for the good. I wouldn't wish it on anybody. I wouldn't want them to go through that pain and suffering. I would want them to have a beautiful sacramental marriage from the very beginning. That's what everybody wants and everybody deserves, especially, those of us who are fully practicing our Catholic faith. And so I agree with you. Having regrets, I think, keeps us stuck. It keeps us looking backwards, and it's not sometimes it's not healthy. Now, if we learn from that, that's a different story. If we learn from our past, that's great. But if we stay and start and constantly reflect on our past and we have some, deep sadness and regret, it doesn't allow us to explore what's in front of us. And God wants us to constantly be evolving, growing, and moving. We're pilgrims on a journey. And so I'm right with you, Roxanne. I completely agree with that line of thinking. What do you think, Jer?
I agree. Life is like a school. They call it sometimes the school of hard knocks. But you're right. We don't look back with regrets. Rather, we look back and say, how can I learn from these things that have happened, decisions that I have made, and how things turned out? So, Roxanne, I think you really bring up a great point on the program today. And as I said before, Romans 8:28, all things work together for the good for those who love God. I'm paraphrasing there. But anything else, Roxanne, you wanted to add?
No, even though you're paraphrasing it, I think that you're spot on.
Oh, thank you.
He always is, Roxanne, but try not to give him a big head on Monday because I got to work with him all week, okay?
Okay. Sorry about that.
No, you're wonderful. We're just teasing. Have a beautiful rest of your day. Thank you so much for calling in. And thank you, Dave in YouTube. I'm going to wave to you. I thought it was Sliding Doors, but I didn't want to say it because I wasn't sure and I was going to check it after the show. Yeah, that big Hollywood movie, the first time they did those what if, different choices produced a different result. It was the movie Sliding Doors. Kind of a strange movie. I didn't really, there was parts of it I thought were really, I don't know. I didn't, but it was an interesting, the storyline was interesting. So Dave, thank you so much for clarifying that and confirming that. And then somebody else, Jeff just said, how about A Wonderful Life? That's like the same type of thing. What if different choices produce different results? You're right. Many times this has been done on the big screen, and to what? Why? Because it interests us, right? A one choice can make all the difference in the world.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Like I share, I would not be sitting here today doing this. I probably wouldn't have done most anything I've done in Catholic radio or ministry, had I not made that trip to Las Vegas. For those who weren't listening at the start of the show, I worked for a software manufacturing company in the 80s, and I was in the shipping department, so they made use of me to ship the stuff to this big convention and back, and I just happened to say that day I want to go to confession, and that priest he touched my heart so much that we became dear friends, and I ended up visiting him several times. Through him I met someone who went to Franciscan University and told, encouraged me to go there, and the rest I think is history. So amazing.
Wow.
Puzzle pieces. Yeah.
Before we get to Lisa Marie, who's gonna enhance this conversation that we're having today, we're learning, we're growing. That's what Take Two's all about. I just wanted to share with our listeners Catholic Connection with Teresa Tomeo. She does a fabulous job, and you get a special treat because she has a guest host, Sherry Brownrigg. She is incredible. She's also a life coach. She's really amazing. Monday through Friday morning, 9 Eastern time on EWTN radio is how you can listen to Catholic Connection, and they cover the news of the day, and they do a well-rounded, wonderful job. Please, folks, mark your phone and everything to have it beep just when Catholic Connection is coming on. I think it's a great program.
Indeed, I agree. All right, as promised, Lisa Marie next, listening on the Jersey Shore. Hello, Lisa Marie. Welcome.
Hello, Jerry and Debbie. How are you?
Hi.
Good, Lisa Marie. How are you?
Doing great. I wanted to share my story with you. I'll try and be succinct. When I was very young, I was playing the guitar and singing at Mass, and there was a gentleman out in the pew who owned a small local recording studio, and he eventually had me make a demo tape of some original songs and some Christian music, and then over a period of weeks, I was actually going to go down to Florida and, try and see what would happen with a professional career. I had no real ties, so I was going to give up a teaching job that I had. Anyway, almost simultaneously, I became pregnant. And I remember that the doctor offered me the option of not having the baby, which to me, thank God, was just out of the question. And so, of course, I stayed where I was. I stayed with my teaching job, which had great benefits. And I had my son, and I named him after my father, Anthony. And I went on to a 30-year teaching career. And when you're a music teacher, you work with the entire school. So I have hopefully positively touched many, many students and their families. In particular, one little boy early in my career, after that wonderful decision that I made, he lifted up the back of his sweatpant leg, and there were welts on his calf. And I got involved with diapers. He and his younger brother were taken out of this horrible home. They went on to live with loving grandparents and went on to have a wonderful life, speaking of that wonderful life. And so I have often thought, again, hopefully I've touched many lives, but even if it was just that one child, the decision that I made, of course I gave my son life. His name was Anthony. This student's name was Anthony. But I think it would have all been worth it if I even maybe possibly saved that one child and his little brother from an abusive life. And so I'm just so grateful to God that I made that decision. And, having my Catholic faith and upbringing really wasn't a terribly difficult decision to make. I also never went on to meet Mr. Right, except for Jesus, of course. But I did not get married, and I didn't have any other children. So, again, thank God that I had my Anthony. And the last thing I'll say is that today is my birthday, and this is such a great present to be speaking to the two of you. So thank you.
Wow. Well, it's our honor, Lisa Marie.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Deb.
Happy birthday, Lisa Marie. Don't leave yet. We got a couple comments and questions. And wow, you're celebrating your birthday with us. Normally, people avoid us on their birthdays, Lisa Marie, but you want to celebrate with us. So we're very grateful.
Oh, well, it's my pleasure. Perhaps at the end of the call, Jerry will sing to me. I mean, I would swoon over here at the church.
And he actually has a great voice, but he refuses to sing on air. I don't know why. You have a great voice.
Oh, you too. What are you doing to me here?
We're trying to give you like $5 if you'll sing happy birthday at least. You can do the quick version.
Well,
happy birthday to you. You know how you do it really fast so nobody can tell if you can sing or not.
Yeah. Well, I have a question, Lisa Marie, if you have another second. What can you tell us about your son, Anthony, and, what he's done in his life? Because, again, you mentioned, you saved those two other young boys from a potential, abusive home. But God obviously had a purpose for allowing you to become pregnant and have your own son, Anthony. So can you share a minute or two of, what he's been doing and how his life has been?
A minute or two. Jerry, I could talk for hours about my son, Anthony.
I have to save time to sing,
Well, he is 32 years old now. He just married in March a beautiful Italian-American Catholic girl, also a teacher, who loves him to his core. My son did not have a father in the home, but my father was his most significant male role model for the first 15 years of his life, and he served as a pallbearer for his grandpa when he was 15. He is just a force of nature. He is in the finance world. He has a wonderful heart, and he helped me to take care of both a brother who suffered from schizophrenia and my parents, which, again, if I had been off on some self-absorbed career, I wouldn't have been here to take care of my brother and my parents. And my son never complained. Every time I would have to pick up and just go and help them, he came with me all through his early years. And then as I was very involved in the church, he also came with me to various church functions. He's 6'2". He's a handsome Italian guy, a great athlete. I mean, he is just the best.
Wow. Okay, so now you have to tell us, because I put you, Lisa Marie, I put you in our book, and Anthony and your whole family, and you said Lisa's wife's. Can you give us her first name? I mean, Anthony's wife. Can you give us her first name?
Oh, her name is Gianna.
Oh, I love that name. Gianna. Okay, and do they have children? No. Yes.
Well, no, not yet. Only 4 months. They're newlyweds.
They're newlyweds. Okay, I'm going to put that in the book, that they're newlyweds. I love this. This is great stuff. Okay, so real quickly, I just wanted to say, Lisa Marie, first of all, I love your name. Every time I say it, I think of Elvis. You do realize that, right? Do most people think of Elvis? Okay.
I get that a lot. And also when Lisa Marie Presley was married to Michael Jackson, I got a lot of that too.
There you go. Okay, but Lisa Marie, I've got to just say this. You know, as you were telling your beautiful story of how you and Anthony traveled into this world. Anthony came into this world. You named him after your dad. How beautiful. He was the role model for your son. He turned out to be just a fine young man, and now an adult. I was thinking about all the celebrities, Lisa Marie, all the celebrities that would get up at Academy Award celebrations and events and other times they would have interviews, and they would say things like, you know, if I had that child, I wouldn't be sitting here with this great acting job, or I wouldn't have gotten this Academy Award. And I'm thinking about them, and I think, my goodness, that just it saddens my heart, because they're missing out on so much more. They want that initial thing that they think is going to make them, make it in this world, and they're choosing that over a beautiful existence with a life coming into this world. And your story just made me realize that I need to pray more for those people that are in the performing arts who have chosen that route to choose their job over having children, and that saddens me for them. I make no judgments or anything. It just saddens me because I feel they could have had it all. Would you agree with that?
Oh, I completely agree, because those, as we know, we've never seen a hearse go by with a U-Haul behind it. Right. You cannot take it with you, but if you leave behind a legacy of children, or even if you don't have children and you leave behind a legacy of beautiful souls which you assisted in getting to heaven by virtue of our Catholic faith and good deeds and love and evangelization, then you've really, really made your mark on this world.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely,
I agree. Beautiful story. Beautiful. Go ahead,
Well,
Go ahead.
I don't think I've ever done this before, but Lisa Marie, you said it's your birthday and you would appreciate it. So happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Lisa Marie. Happy birthday to you.
Yay! Lisa Marie, nobody has ever got him to do that before. You are the first person. You're getting a special virtual award from Take Two. It's virtual. I have never heard him sing on air. No, you're not getting anything. You're not getting. No, yeah,
it's that was part of the job.
That was really good. Wasn't that good, Lisa Marie? He stayed on key.
That was beautiful. And I am tossing virtual rose petals, your direction, Jerry.
Oh, thank you.
All kinds of symbols and flying saucers. I'm the flying saucer girl. So mint flying saucers are coming your way as well. Thank you for that beautiful song.
Thank you. God bless you, Lisa Marie.
That was fun.
Okay,
Thank you, Lisa Marie. You did it. I'm so proud of you. And that was really good.
Oh, thank you, Debbie.
Yeah.
Does that mean in November I have to do that for you on the air?
Yeah, exactly. But Lisa Marie sounds prettier in a song. Debbie's going to be a little harder. You better start practicing now.
Okay. All right, well, that's going to wrap up a wonderful show again. Way to go, Take Two family. Tomorrow, what are you most passionate about regarding your Catholic faith? A topic suggested by our listener, John. Until then, have a beautiful and blessed day. St. Joseph, pray for us.
The
most original Catholic content is on EWTN Radio.
Hello, Journey Home family. Next time, we'll welcome David Curry back to the program, a former fundamentalist Protestant, to share what led him to come home to the Catholic Church. Share the journey next time on EWTN's The Journey Home.
The Journey Home with Marcus Grodi, tonight, 8 Eastern on EWTN Radio and Television.
EWTN. Live truth. Live Catholic.
You're moments away from an EWTN